To secure peace, she wed a human, only to see him battle with unmatched might. She had seen this view 1,000 times, yet today it felt different. There was tension in the air, a heaviness that no sunset could ease. War loomed over her people, and every decision she made could tip the balance between life and death. Her advisors had gathered in the council room hours earlier, discussing the same urgent matter, the Dravok Empire. The Dravok were a powerful neighboring civilization, feared for their advanced technology and ruthless strategies. Recent intelligence suggested they were preparing to invade Xynara. Elira's heart sank. She knew the cost of war. She had studied the history of battles fought across the stars, and none ended well for the innocent. And so the council had proposed a solution, an unusual, even controversial one. Elira was to marry a human. Humans, she knew, were unpredictable creatures. Their kind had spread across galaxies, carving out colonies and building impressive fleets. They were courageous, clever, and sometimes reckless. Xynara had few alliances with humans, and the idea of marrying one for political gain made Elira's stomach twist. Yet the council argued persuasively. A union with a human ambassador could secure peace, at least temporarily. She turned away from the balcony, her thoughts troubled. Her life had always been bound by duty, but this duty felt heavier than ever. Marriage for love had never been the expectation of a princess. Marriage for peace, marriage for strategy, was the reality she had been raised to accept. She sighed, adjusting the folds of her ceremonial robe, embroidered with silver threads that shimmered like starlight. The arrival of Captain Orion Kane was scheduled for midday. Elira had not met him before, but Xynara's intelligence had briefed her. He was a human of remarkable skill, known for his bravery and his sharp mind. Many praised him for his ability to navigate difficult situations, both in diplomacy and on the battlefield. Yet Elira remained cautious. Reputation, she knew, was only part of the truth. The rest had to be discovered firsthand. When Orion entered the palace, he carried himself with the confidence of a man who had faced countless dangers. His dark hair was slightly tousled, his eyes calm yet alert. He bowed politely, though not with the exaggerated formality Xynarans expected. Elira noted this and raised an eyebrow. Perhaps humans had a different sense of respect. "Princess Elira," Orion said, his voice steady and clear. "It is an honor to meet you." Elira nodded, keeping her expression neutral. "Captain Kane, welcome to Xynara. I hope your journey was smooth," he smiled faintly. "It had its challenges. Space travel rarely comes without them." There was a pause, a moment of silence where both measured the other. Elira found herself studying him carefully. His posture was relaxed, yet there was a tension in his muscles that suggested readiness. Humans, she reminded herself, were different. They did not show fear in the same way Xynarans did. They faced danger with a directness that was both admirable and, occasionally, reckless. The council had insisted that Elira and Orion spend time together before the ceremony. They needed to know each other, at least enough to appear united in front of their people. Elira found herself walking through the palace gardens with him, the scent of alien flowers filling the air. Some glowed softly in the dimming light, their colors shifting from blue to green to violet. It was beautiful, yet Elira's mind was on the weight of the alliance. "Your gardens are impressive," Orion said, looking around with genuine appreciation. "I've never seen plants that emit light like this," Elira nodded. "They are native to Xynara. Our scientists have cultivated them for centuries. Each flower reacts to the energy around it." She glanced at him, curious. "Do humans have similar plants?" He shook his head. "Not quite like this. We have some that respond to sunlight or water, but nothing as elegant." He smiled again, a small, easy gesture. "I'd like to learn more about them." For a moment, Elira allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps humans were not so unpredictable after all. There was a kindness in him, an interest in the world that seemed genuine. Yet she reminded herself that charm was not enough. She had to be certain that this union could withstand the pressures of a threatened kingdom. Days passed, and Elira observed Orion closely. He adapted quickly to Xynara's customs, though sometimes he made mistakes that caused subtle laughter among the palace staff. He mispronounced ceremonial titles or used gestures in ways that were slightly off. Elira found these moments endearing, yet they also reminded her that humans were different in ways that could be both strengths and weaknesses. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, a message arrived from Xynara's outer patrols. Dravok's ships had been sighted near the border of the kingdom. Elira's heart tightened. The council convened immediately, and she and Orion were summoned to the strategic room. The room was filled with holographic projections of fleets and star systems. Advisors spoke quickly, analyzing trajectories and possible strategies. Elira listened, absorbing every detail, while Orion moved among the holograms, asking pointed questions and offering suggestions. "You're quick to understand our systems," Elira remarked quietly, watching him manipulate the projections with ease. Orion looked at her. "Experience helps, Princess. Humans tend to adapt quickly when the stakes are high." Elira considered this. Perhaps adaptability was a quality she had underestimated in humans. Their ability to respond to unexpected threats, to improvise in situations others might see as hopeless, could be invaluable. That night, Elira found herself unable to sleep. She walked the palace corridors, reflecting on the day's events. Orion had shown courage, intelligence, and a calmness under pressure that was rare among Xynarans. He did not rely on ceremony or protocol alone. He acted, he led, he inspired. For the first time, Elira wondered if this human could be more than a political tool. Perhaps he could be an ally in every sense of the word. Perhaps he could even be a protector, not only of her people, but of her. The next morning, Elira invited Orion to explore the palace archives with her. They walked among shelves of ancient records and historical artifacts, the air thick with the scent of preserved knowledge. She showed him scrolls of past treaties, star maps of former wars, and relics of legendary heroes. "Your history is rich," Orion said, tracing a finger over the etchings of a long-dead king. "I've read about Xynara's resilience, but seeing it here, it's impressive." Elira smiled faintly. "Resilience is what my people are known for. We endure, we survive, we adapt." He nodded. "Sounds familiar. Humans pride themselves on the same qualities. Maybe that's why this alliance has potential. Different species, same drive to survive and protect what matters." She studied him, realizing that his words carried sincerity. Humans, it seemed, were more than their reputation for recklessness. They had determination, courage, and a willingness to face impossible odds. Qualities that Xynara had valued for centuries. As days turned into weeks, Elira and Orion continued to learn from one another. He asked about Xynaran technology, about the defense systems of the palace, and about her responsibilities as a princess. She, in turn, asked about human culture, their history of exploration, and the choices that had led him to become an ambassador. Through it all, Elira felt a cautious respect growing within her. She still did not know if she could trust him completely, but she began to believe that humans, and Orion in particular, were capable of great things. Perhaps this union, born of political necessity, could become more than a strategic move. Perhaps it could become a genuine partnership, forged in understanding and mutual respect. Yet even as these thoughts took root, a shadow lingered in the distance. The Dravok Empire was patient, cunning, and relentless. Elira knew that peace was fragile, and that the coming days could test both her and Orion in ways neither had imagined. For now, however, she allowed herself a moment of calm. She stood once more on the balcony, watching the suns rise, painting the city in soft gold. Beside her, Orion stood quietly, his presence reassuring in a way she had not expected. In that moment, Princess Elira realized that the future of Zainara, and perhaps the fate of many worlds, might rest not only on treaties and diplomacy, but on the courage and determination of one human who had stepped into her life. And though she did not yet fully understand the measure of his strength, she knew one thing. This human, Captain Orion Kane, would change everything. The morning light spilled over Zainara's palace gardens, turning the bioluminescent flowers into a tapestry of colors. Princess Elira walked along the marble pathways, her mind alive with thoughts of yesterday's council meeting. Captain Orion Kane had proven himself quick to adapt to her world's customs, yet there remained a chasm between their two species, a gap that could only be bridged through understanding, patience, and time. Orion met her at the garden's edge, carrying a small device that blinked and hummed softly. "I found this in the archives," he said, holding it out. "It seems to be a communication tool, but the interface is unlike anything I've seen before." Elira took it gently. "That is an old model. We mostly use more advanced holographic communicators now, but this one has historical significance. It was used during the first diplomatic missions between Zainara and distant systems." He examined it carefully, turning it in his hands. "Humans usually adapt by experimenting. We touch, we test, we learn by doing." She observed him, noting how his movements were deliberate, patient, yet curious. Humans often acted without hesitation, but Orion seemed to combine caution with courage, a rare balance. "Your approach is methodical," she commented. He smiled. "And yours is precise. Zainarans think in patterns. Humans think in possibilities. Together, maybe we can see both." Elira allowed herself a faint smile. Perhaps the alliance would be stronger than she had first imagined. The day's agenda was set. Elira would guide Orion through Zainara's cultural and technological customs. They began with the palace's energy core, a vast structure that powered the city. Elira explained the intricacies of the crystal matrix, the way it channeled energy through conduits, and how every adjustment required precise calculation. Orion listened intently, occasionally asking questions that seemed basic, yet revealed a mind tuned to practical problem-solving. "If one crystal fluctuates in output," he asked, "would it be possible to redistribute energy from neighboring nodes temporarily?" Elira blinked, impressed. "Yes, few outside our engineers would consider that solution. You understand more quickly than I expected." He shrugged modestly. "Humans are taught to find solutions under pressure. Sometimes the simplest adjustments make the biggest difference." As the day went on, Elira introduced him to Zainara's social customs. They visited the central council hall, where the advisors debated issues with precise gestures and formal language. Orion participated, carefully observing and attempting to replicate their etiquette. Some moments were slightly awkward. He bowed too deeply or gestured at the wrong moment. But Elira found his efforts sincere, and she appreciated the humility behind them. "I will never fully master these customs," he admitted later, "but I can respect them. And that seems to matter more than perfect performance." Elira considered this. Perhaps humans had a kind of honesty that her people sometimes lacked, a willingness to admit limits, yet act boldly anyway. That quality, she thought, could be invaluable in both diplomacy and war. Their next stop was the palace's training grounds. Zainaran warriors practiced martial arts that combined agility, energy projection, and strategic thinking. Elira watched Orion as he observed the exercises. His dark eyes followed every movement with precision, analyzing patterns, noting weaknesses, and imagining improvements. "Would you like to try?" Elira asked, a hint of challenge in her tone. He nodded. "I don't mind learning from the masters." The warriors moved aside, demonstrating techniques to him. Orion adapted quickly, combining human reflexes with lessons learned from observation. While he lacked the natural agility of Zainarans, He compensated with cleverness and intuition. He anticipated attacks, redirected energy flows, and even managed a few moves that left the instructors exchanging surprised glances. Elira felt a rush of admiration. Humans might not be born with the same abilities, but they compensated with ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer determination. Watching Orion move, she realized that the tales of human bravery were not exaggerations. There was a spark in him, a drive that no culture or training could fully teach. After training, they rested in the gardens again. Elira noticed how Orion studied the glowing plants, tracing the light patterns with his fingers, curious but careful not to damage them. "Your world is beautiful," he said quietly, "and everything here seems connected: technology, nature, culture. I've never seen a place like this." Elira nodded. "Xynara values balance. Strength without wisdom is dangerous. Power without understanding is meaningless." He looked at her thoughtfully. "Humans try to do the same. Maybe that's why this alliance can work. Different worlds, same principles." The conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert from the palace's perimeter. Elira and Orion hurried to the control room, where holographic displays showed a small Dravok reconnaissance vessel approaching Xynara's atmosphere. "Just a scout," the chief advisor reported. "It is not a full invasion, but it is a warning." Elira's hand rested on the console, her mind racing. "Prepare defensive measures but avoid escalation. We cannot provoke them unnecessarily." Orion studied the data. "If they are testing our response, perhaps we should show strength without aggression. Maybe reposition patrols in a way that appears more formidable." The advisor raised an eyebrow. "A human suggestion." Elira smiled faintly. "He has a point. Let's implement it." The maneuver worked. The Dravok scout altered its course and retreated, likely underestimating Xynara's preparedness. Elira glanced at Orion. "You've done well today. I admit I doubted the human approach at first." He shrugged. "Doubt is natural. But sometimes, acting with clarity and courage is better than following protocol blindly." As the sun set again, Elira and Orion walked through the palace corridors. The soft glow of the bioluminescent lights reflected off their faces. Elira could feel a subtle shift within herself, a growing respect and perhaps even a hint of trust. "You adapt quickly to this world," Elira said, her voice quiet. Orion's eyes met hers. "I adapt because I must. And because I see value here in the people, the culture, and in you." She stopped, surprised by the earnestness of his words. Elira had been trained to expect diplomacy and politeness, not honesty of this kind. Humans were straightforward in ways Xynarans were not, and it was both refreshing and unsettling. Their conversations grew longer over the following days. They discussed strategy, philosophy, and history. Elira introduced Orion to Xynara's archives of interstellar conflicts, showing him how their people had survived countless challenges. He listened, asked questions, and offered insights based on human history and tactics. One afternoon, while studying ancient star maps, Orion paused. "Your people survived because you adapt. Humans survive for the same reason. Perhaps that is why this alliance can last, not because it is convenient, but because both species understand perseverance." Elira considered this. Perhaps this union could become more than a political strategy. Perhaps it could become a genuine bridge between worlds, built on shared values and mutual respect. Yet, even as trust grew, Elira could not ignore the shadow on the horizon. The Dravok Empire was patient, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. She knew that the coming days would test both her and Orion. They would face challenges that demanded more than diplomacy. They would require courage, innovation, and unwavering determination. For now, Elira allowed herself a small sense of optimism. With Orion by her side, she felt a growing belief that Xynara could survive, that peace could be preserved, and that humanity might prove to be an unexpected ally in ways no one had anticipated. As the twin suns disappeared completely, leaving the sky in a deep, star-filled twilight, Elira and Orion stood together in the garden. The air was calm, the flowers glowing softly around them. "Tomorrow," Elira said, "we continue preparations for the ceremony. And perhaps more importantly, we continue to learn from each other." Orion nodded. "I look forward to it, Princess. There is much I do not know and much I hope to understand, but I will do my best to honor your world and its people." Elira felt a quiet determination stir within her. She had married for peace, yes, but she was beginning to see that this alliance was not merely about strategy. It was about connection, courage, and the potential of two worlds working together. And as the night deepened, she realized that the human she had married was not just an ambassador or a protector. He was a partner in every sense, and the future of Xynara might depend on the strength, courage, and ingenuity of Captain Orion Kane. The morning sky above Xynara was clear, but the calm was deceptive. Princess Elira stood in the palace observatory, watching the holographic display of the outer perimeter. Sensors had detected movement along the border, a Dravok fleet, larger than the scouts that had tested them before. Her heart raced. She had feared this day, the one when diplomacy might fail and the shadow of war would arrive at her doorstep. Captain Orion Kane entered quietly, his dark eyes scanning the same display. "They've brought more ships than expected," he said, his voice calm but alert. "We need to act fast, but rushing without planning could be disastrous." Elira nodded. "I trust your judgment, Captain. What do you suggest?" He traced a path on the holographic map. "We need to split their focus. Some of our patrols should be visible, but others hidden. If they think they can strike without consequence, they will. We need to show strength, strategy, and readiness, without provoking them unnecessarily." The advisors murmured among themselves, impressed by Orion's analysis. Xynarans were skilled strategists, but humans thought differently. They anticipated unpredictability. Elira realized that this difference could become their greatest advantage. By midday, the Dravok fleet entered Xynara's space. Their ships were sleek, black, and menacing, bristling with weapons. Elira and Orion stood on the command deck, overlooking the city and the approaching fleet. Citizens had been evacuated from vulnerable zones, and Xynara's defense systems were ready. Yet the tension was palpable. Elira's hand rested on the console. "This is it," she whispered. "We either show them our strength or risk chaos." Orion placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We will show them that Xynara does not yield easily, and we will protect your people." Together, the first attack came quickly. Dravok ships fired energy pulses that streaked through space, attempting to disable patrols. Xynara's defenses responded with precise countermeasures, intercepting the pulses and deflecting them harmlessly. The clash of technology was dazzling, a ballet of light and strategy across the void. Orion moved among the control consoles, issuing commands with calm authority. "Divert energy to the outer shields. Reinforce the patrols near Sector 7. Use the decoy drones to confuse their targeting systems." Elira watched in amazement as humans and Xynarans coordinated. Orion's tactics were fluid, responding to changes faster than the Dravok could predict. He anticipated their moves, positioning ships in ways that maximized defense while minimizing risk. His knowledge of human adaptability shone, proving that courage paired with intelligence could challenge even the most formidable enemy. Suddenly, a Dravok strike broke through the outer shields, aiming directly at the palace. Elira felt her heart leap. "They're targeting the palace." Orion's expression hardened. "Not if I can help it." Without hesitation, he activated a fighter bay, climbing into a sleek human-designed starfighter. Elira gasped. Xynaran pilots were elite, trained for years, yet Orion moved with confidence that was almost fearless. "Wait," she shouted. "You don't have to." But he was already gone, weaving through the chaos of battle. His movements were precise, dodging energy blasts while striking back with pinpoint accuracy. Dravok's ships that had never encountered humans before faltered, unprepared for his unorthodox tactics. Back on the command deck, Elira watched, mesmerized. She had expected skill, but not this. Orion's every maneuver combined courage, strategy, and instinct. He anticipated attacks before they came, using the environment and the enemy's assumptions against them. A Dravok cruiser moved to flank the palace, firing massive energy beams. Orion looped around it, using the cruiser's own energy trails to hide his approach. With a swift strike, he disabled the cruiser's main engines, sending it spinning harmlessly into the void. The advisors exchanged astonished looks. Humans, they realized, could rival even Xynara's finest warriors. Elira felt a surge of pride. The human she had married for the sake of diplomacy was not merely an ally, he was a protector, a force capable of facing the enemy head-on. And yet she knew this was only the beginning. The Dravok would not retreat easily. As the battle raged, Elira coordinated the city's defenses. Her mind worked in tandem with Orion's actions, issuing orders to deploy shield reinforcements, reroute energy supplies, and evacuate sectors under threat. The combination of Xynaran technology and human ingenuity proved formidable. The Dravok attacks became less effective, their strategy unable to adapt to the unexpected human tactics and Elira's leadership. Hours passed, each moment tense and critical. Orion returned to the command deck only briefly, issuing quick updates before diving back into the fray. His presence inspired the Xynaran pilots, who fought with renewed determination, knowing they were not alone. Humans, Elira realized, had a way of inspiring confidence through action, not just words. By nightfall, the Dravok fleet began to retreat. Their energy reserves were depleted, their ships damaged, and their confidence shaken. Elira exhaled deeply, relief flooding through her. The city had survived, largely thanks to Orion's courage and ingenuity. The command deck was quiet now, filled with the soft hum of machinery and the occasional alert. Elira approached Orion, who had returned from his fighter, dusting off his uniform. "You were extraordinary," she said, her voice filled with awe. He shrugged modestly. "I did what needed to be done. Your people fought bravely too. This was a team effort." She shook her head. "You changed the outcome. I have never seen anyone fight like that, not on Xynara, not in our history." Orion met her gaze. "Humans have a reputation for courage. Sometimes it is reckless, but sometimes it is necessary. Today it was necessary." Elira felt a mixture of admiration and something she could not yet name, perhaps respect, perhaps something deeper. She realized that Orion's strength was not only in his combat skills, but in his ability to inspire and adapt. Humans, she reflected, were not simply survivors. They were innovators, leaders, and warriors in ways her people had only begun to understand. That night the city celebrated quietly. Damage was repaired, citizens were safe, and the immediate threat had passed. Yet Elira knew the Dravok would return. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. She also knew that the presence of Orion Kane made the difference between survival and devastation. In the quiet hours, Elira and Orion walked along the palace gardens. The glowing flowers seemed softer now, their light reflecting the calm after the storm. "You surprised me today," Elira said softly. "I expected diplomacy, strategy, perhaps clever planning, but not this: courage, decisiveness, power." Orion looked at her, a faint smile on his face. "I do not fight for glory, princess. I fight because it is necessary. And I fight to protect those who cannot protect themselves." She nodded. "You embody everything we value in our greatest heroes, and yet you are human. It makes me wonder what humans are truly capable of." He chuckled lightly. "You will see more, princess. Humans have a way of exceeding expectations, sometimes even their own." Elira felt a quiet reassurance in his words. She had married for peace, yes, but she began to see that this alliance could be more than a political arrangement. It could be the beginning of something extraordinary, a partnership that combined courage, wisdom, and determination across species. As they walked, a soft wind carried the scent of the bioluminescent flowers. Elira realized that the coming days would be challenging. Dravok was not defeated, only delayed. But with Orion by her side, she felt a new strength within herself. Together, they could face what lay ahead. For the first time since the threat of war had loomed over her kingdom, Elira allowed herself to hope, not just for peace, but for a future in which humans and Xynarans could stand side by side, united by courage, intelligence, and the shared desire to protect what mattered most. And as the twin moons rose over the city, their silver light reflecting on the palace spires, Elira knew that the tides of conflict had revealed something remarkable. A human's unmatched might was not only in battle but in the spirit, in the mind, and in the heart. Captain Orion Kane had proven that humans could be heroes, not only to Xynara, but to every world that needed courage, ingenuity, and unwavering determination. The skies above Xynara had calmed, yet a tense energy lingered over the city. Princess Elira walked along the palace corridors, her mind occupied with the lessons of the recent battle. Captain Orion Kane had proven himself not only a skilled warrior, but also a brilliant strategist. Her respect for him had deepened, but Elira knew that true alliances required more than admiration. They required trust, understanding, and shared purpose. Orion was waiting in the palace gardens when she arrived, examining a small device that pulsed with faint light. "I've been reviewing the patrol reports," he said, looking up as she approached. "There are irregularities, some sectors show unusual energy readings, possibly sabotage or intelligence gathering." Elira frowned. "You think someone is trying to infiltrate our defenses?" He nodded. "It's likely. Dravok is cunning. They may have left agents behind, waiting for the right moment. We need to find them before they cause harm." Together, they began inspecting the city systems, moving from one control hub to another. Elira watched Orion as he worked, impressed by his methodical approach. He was human, yes, but his mind operated like a finely tuned instrument. He combined instinct with analysis, courage with patience. Every action he took seemed to inspire confidence in those around him. "You are different from anyone I have ever met," Elira said quietly as they paused near the energy core. "Not just brave, but thoughtful. You consider every possibility, and yet you act without hesitation when needed." Orion smiled faintly. "Humans survive by adapting, Princess. We cannot wait for perfect conditions. We must act, and we must learn from every choice we make. Perhaps that is why I can work well here. I have the freedom to combine my instincts with what I learned from your people." Elira felt a subtle warmth in her chest. She had married for peace, but she was beginning to realize that her alliance with Orion could become something more. Perhaps it was trust, perhaps admiration, but it was undeniable. She had come to rely on his presence, his insight, and his courage. Their investigation led them to a hidden network of tunnels beneath the city. Sensors indicated the presence of unauthorized activity. Elira's hand rested on the console, her pulse quickening. "This could be dangerous," she warned. Orion's dark eyes met hers. "Then we must be careful but decisive. I will go first. Stay close." He led the way, moving silently through the labyrinthine tunnels. Elira followed, her mind alert, ready to respond. The tunnels were dimly lit, shadows stretching across the walls. Yet Orion's confidence was unwavering. Every step he took seemed deliberate, calculated, and fearless. At the end of the tunnel, they found evidence of Dravok agents attempting to hack into Xynara's systems. Orion examined the devices quickly, disabling them with a combination of human ingenuity and Xynaran technology. Elira watched, amazed at how he anticipated the agent's methods and neutralized the threat without hesitation. "You are remarkable," she said softly. Even in this darkness, you find a way to protect our people." He shook his head modestly. "I only do what must be done. You, princess, provide the knowledge, the strategy, and the command. I merely act on the information you provide. Together, we are stronger than either of us alone." Elira realized the truth in his words. Their partnership was not just political, it was a union of skill, courage, and intelligence. And as they returned to the surface, she felt a deepening bond with the human she had married. In the days that followed, Elira and Orion faced more challenges. Natural disasters struck the outer sectors of the city, requiring immediate attention. Orion organized relief efforts, combining human problem-solving with Xyneran technology to stabilize energy grids, divert water flow, and rebuild damaged structures. Citizens watched in awe as the human and the princess worked side by side, turning disaster into opportunity. Elira found herself increasingly relying on Orion's insights. "What should we do about the water shortage in Sector 12?" she asked one evening as they examined a city map. Orion traced the pipelines with his finger. "If we redirect some energy from the secondary power conduits, we can operate the purification systems at full capacity. It will take careful monitoring, but it will prevent further shortages." She nodded. "Your solutions are practical, yet elegant." "Zainara has never seen this approach before," he smiled. "Sometimes simplicity is the key. Complicated solutions often fail when circumstances change. Humans learn to adapt quickly." Their collaboration extended beyond strategy and logistics. Elira began to share stories of her childhood, of her training as a princess, and of the burdens she had carried since her earliest days. Orion listened attentively, offering empathy and understanding without judgment. In return, he shared stories of Earth, of humanity's struggles, triumphs, and perseverance. They found common ground in the values of courage, determination, and the desire to protect others. One night, while observing the twin moons from the palace balcony, Elira spoke softly. "I married for peace," she said, her voice tinged with vulnerability. "I did not expect this: trust, understanding, even companionship." Orion stood beside her, his gaze on the moons. "Peace is fragile, princess. But alliances built on trust and mutual respect are stronger than any treaty. I did not marry for duty, but I chose to stand with you. Together, we can face whatever comes." Elira felt a warmth in her chest, a quiet reassurance that she had never known before. The human she had married was not just an ally in strategy or battle. He was a partner in every sense, someone she could depend on, someone who inspired her courage. Their growing bond was tested when a group of Dravok saboteurs attempted a coordinated attack on the city's energy grid. Orion led the defense personally, directing Xyneran engineers while simultaneously engaging in combat with the intruders. Elira observed from the command center, her heart pounding. He moved with unmatched precision, neutralizing threats with intelligence and skill. The saboteurs, trained for stealth and deception, were outmaneuvered at every turn. Orion anticipated their moves, adapted to changing circumstances, and ensured that no harm came to civilians. When the threat was finally neutralized, Elira descended to the battlefield, finding Orion helping Xyneran engineers repair the damaged systems. She approached quietly, placing a hand on his arm. "You saved countless lives today," she said softly. He looked at her, a faint smile on his face. "I only did what was necessary. Your people are resilient, princess." They would have adapted, but together we ensured fewer suffered. Elira felt a deep admiration and a quiet pride. This human, this unpredictable, courageous, and intelligent human, was proving that her people could rely on humans not only for diplomacy but for survival itself. In the weeks that followed, Elira and Orion continued to face challenges, each one strengthening their bond. Espionage attempts, natural disasters, and technological crises tested their abilities, yet they emerged stronger each time. Elira began to see that the alliance she had entered for political reasons was evolving into a partnership based on mutual respect, trust, and shared purpose. One evening, as they walked through the gardens after another long day, Elira spoke. "I have come to realize something, Orion. This alliance, it is not just a duty, it is something greater. I trust you, I rely on you, and perhaps I am beginning to care for you in ways I did not expect." Orion's eyes met hers, dark and steady. "I have felt the same, Princess. Our bond is more than politics or strategy. It is built on courage, trust, and understanding. I stand with you, not because I must, but because I choose to." Elira felt a quiet joy, a sense of hope that she had not known before. Together they had faced threats, solved problems, and inspired those around them. They had proven that humans, though different, were capable of extraordinary courage and ingenuity. And as the twin moons cast their silver light over the city, Elira knew that the challenges to come, perhaps the greatest yet, would not be faced alone. She and Orion had forged a bond in fire, a partnership of minds, hearts, and courage that could withstand any threat. The city of Xinara slept peacefully under their watch, unaware of how close danger had come, and how the alliance of a princess and a human had ensured its safety. Elira realized that the days ahead would require even more bravery, more strategy, and more trust. But she felt ready. She felt stronger. And she knew, without a doubt, that the human she had married was not only her partner in duty, but also her partner in life, courage, and the fight to protect everything she held dear. The bond they had forged in fire was unbreakable, and the future of Xinara, and perhaps the universe itself, would depend on that strength. The skies above Xinara were tense, the twin suns casting sharp light on the city's towering spires. Princess Elira stood in the palace observatory, her gaze fixed on the Dravok fleet gathering at the edge of her system. This was the moment she had feared, the moment when diplomacy and strategy would face the ultimate test. Captain Orion Kane stood beside her, calm and focused. "They are preparing for a full assault," he said, scanning the holographic displays. "This is their largest force yet. We must act decisively or all we have built will be lost." Elira nodded. "We have trained, prepared, and planned. We have learned from every challenge. I believe we can protect our people and perhaps end this conflict for good." Orion's eyes met hers. "Together, Princess, we fight as one, humans and Xynarans alike." The city's defenders, a combination of Xynaran warriors and human strategists, assembled under Elira's command. Ships were positioned strategically around the planet, and defensive systems were activated. Citizens had been evacuated from vulnerable sectors, their safety the top priority. Yet despite the preparations, the tension was palpable. Orion moved among the pilots and engineers, offering encouragement and guidance. His presence inspired confidence, his calm demeanor reassuring even the most anxious defenders. Elira watched him, feeling a deep gratitude and admiration. Humans, she realized, could lead not just with strength, but with inspiration and intellect. The Dravok fleet advanced, sleek black ships bristling with weapons. Energy beams streaked across space as their vanguard tested Xynara's outer defenses. Elira issued orders with precision, coordinating with Orion to anticipate the enemy's moves. His insights complemented hers perfectly, combining human adaptability with Xynaran strategy. "Divert shields to sectors 3 and 5, Orion commanded. "Engage decoy drones in Sector 7. Lure their attack into predictable paths. We must control the battlefield before they realize our full capabilities." Elira followed his instructions, adjusting the city's defenses and fleet positions. The coordination was seamless, a blend of two species working in harmony. Xynara's defenders moved with confidence, inspired by the humans' courage and the princess' leadership. The Dravok launched their main assault, concentrating their firepower on key defensive points. Orion piloted a human-designed fighter, weaving through the chaos with unmatched precision. He targeted the enemy's command vessels, disrupting communication and strategy. Each move was calculated, combining speed, intelligence, and instinct. Elira oversaw the planetary defenses, issuing orders to redirect energy, strengthen shields, and deploy reinforcements. She marveled at Orion's effectiveness, how one human could influence the outcome of an entire battle. Xynara's fleet, once tested and cautious, now moved with coordination and confidence. Hours passed in a blur of energy beams, tactical maneuvers, and rapid calculations. Elira felt her mind strain under the intensity, yet she also felt a quiet certainty. Together with Orion, they could hold the line and turn the tide of battle. Suddenly, a massive Dravok cruiser broke through the outer perimeter, its weapons aimed directly at the planet. Elira's heart pounded. "Orion, we cannot let it reach the city." He nodded, activating his fighter. "I'll handle it, cover the fleet. We can't let them regain control." With unmatched skill, Orion engaged the cruiser. He dodged its energy blasts, used the ship's own movement to conceal his approach, and struck with precision at its engines and weapon systems. The Dravok crew struggled to respond, surprised by his unconventional tactics. Within minutes, the cruiser was immobilized, spinning harmlessly into space. Elira watched, awestruck. This human, who had once been merely an ambassador, was now a hero in every sense of the word. Humans, she realized, possessed a courage and ingenuity that transcended expectations. The battle raged on, each side pushing the limits of technology and strategy. Elira coordinated the planetary defenses, Orion led tactical strikes, and Xynara's fleet moved with remarkable coordination. Slowly, the Dravok forces began to falter. Their attacks became less coordinated, their strategies predictable. Finally, the remaining enemy ships, battered and outmaneuvered, began to retreat. Elira exhaled deeply, relief flooding her. The city had survived and Xynara had secured victory, not through luck, but through courage, intelligence, and unity. The aftermath was a mixture of celebration and reflection. Citizens returned to their homes, repairs were made to damaged infrastructure, and life slowly resumed its normal rhythm. Yet Elira knew that the true victory was deeper than the battle itself. It was in the trust, respect, and partnership that had been forged between humans and Xynarans. Orion returned to the palace, tired but steady. Elira greeted him, a mixture of pride and gratitude in her eyes. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said softly. "Your courage and skill saved countless lives." He shook his head modestly. "I only acted with what I knew and what I could do. You and your people provided the guidance, the strategy, and the courage to make it all work. We succeeded because we worked together." Elira smiled. "Yes, together. I have come to understand that humans are more than legends suggest. You are courageous, adaptable, and capable of extraordinary things. And not just in battle, you inspire, you lead, and you protect." Orion looked at her, a quiet intensity in his dark eyes. "I stand with you, Princess, not because it is required, but because I choose to. I choose to protect your people, your world, and you." Elira felt a warmth in her chest, a sense of hope that she had never known before. The union she had entered for political reasons had grown into something far more significant. Trust, respect, and admiration had blossomed into a partnership strong enough to face any challenge. In the following days, Elira and Orion worked to solidify the new peace. Diplomatic channels were opened with neighboring systems, and treaties were strengthened with the Dravok Empire. Both sides recognized that continued aggression would be costly, and the humans, courage and strategy, had demonstrated that Xynara would not yield easily. Elira reflected on the journey she had taken. She had married for peace, unsure of what to expect. She had doubted the abilities and temperament of humans, relying on political calculations rather than personal connection. Yet through trials, challenges, and battles, she had learned the truth. Humans were capable of remarkable courage, intelligence, and resilience. Orion's presence had changed everything. He had proven that strength was not only measured in weapons or numbers, but in action, strategy, and the willingness to stand for what was right. Elira knew that Xynara's future was brighter because of him, and because of the bond they had forged. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the city, Elira and Orion stood together in the palace gardens. The bioluminescent flowers glowed softly, reflecting the silver light across their faces. "We have done it," Elira said quietly. "The city is safe and peace has been secured," Orion nodded, "for now. But lasting peace requires vigilance, trust, and cooperation. We must continue to work together." Elira looked at him, her heart steady and full of conviction. "We will. Together, humans and Xynarans can build a future stronger than any war could destroy." He smiled faintly. "And I will stand with you, Princess, through every challenge, every trial, and every moment, together." The city of Xynara slept peacefully under their watch, a testament to courage, unity, and the unexpected strength of a human who had become more than an ambassador. Captain Orion Kane had not only defended a world, he had inspired it, changed it, and proven that the courage of one individual could ripple across the stars. Elira knew that the story of this alliance would be told for generations. The tale of a princess who married a human to secure peace, only to witness his unmatched might, would inspire hope and admiration across countless worlds. Humans and Xynarans would look back on this time not as a war, but as a turning point, when courage, intelligence, and trust united to create something greater than any single species could achieve alone. And as Elira and Orion stood together beneath the twin moons, they understood that their bond was not merely political or strategic. It was a partnership built on respect, trust, and shared courage. It was a legacy of hope, a symbol that even in the darkest times, strength, intelligence, and determination could triumph. The future of Xynara and of the stars themselves was brighter for it. And at the heart of that triumph stood a human, whose courage and skill had changed the course of history, and a princess who had learned that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from birthright or tradition, but from trust, unity, and the willingness to fight for what is right. Together they looked to the horizon, ready for whatever challenges the universe might bring, confident that no matter the odds, they would face them side by side.